The comments heard on The View From A Pew are those of Mac McKoy and are not necessarily the opinions of his guests, his producer Garth, any one particular denomination or religion, the church lady, Mr. Lemke, Pastor Craig, or anyone else of sound mind and body. Now, here is today's The View From A Pew, heard all around the world on YouTube. Just search for The View From A Pew.
And welcome back. It is a Wednesday afternoon. Nice to have you here with us on The View From A Pew, live on your local radio station, all over the internet. Just search for The View From A Pew. And if you want the visual component, don't know why you would, but should you want that, you can get that at youtube.com. Search for The View From A Pew. My guest today is Reverend Monica Hayes. She is a reverend, which means she is an ordained pastor. But when you hear the term reverend used, it usually means that they don't currently have a congregation. So taking some time this summer, and I've asked her to be on the show, and she's nice enough to do that. And she's in some place, some rural town, milking cows in the morning, I guess. What do you call it again? Irvington?
It's Ireton.
Yeah, see, I can't get it right. All right, and we're going through our pastor's questions. And I told you when we came back on Wednesday that the tough question would come first. Is tolerance the characteristic of a man with no convictions? Yay or nay? How you speak.
Yeah. I believe that if you're not convicted, you may be very tolerant of certain things. And then also Jesus himself was tolerant. He's tolerant with us. So you may be tolerant just due to giving us chance after chance. So that's a form of tolerance. But I do believe that people that don't have conviction may be tolerant of things that God may find to be intolerant regarding. So I do think it's a characteristic of those who don't know Christ. Yes.
Now,
but I also think, yeah, go ahead.
If we hadn't had the fall in the garden, we would not need tolerance, correct?
Correct, because everything would be hunky dory.
Yeah,
because we'd be without sin, right?
All right, my guest, Reverend Monica Haynes from Iverton. Got it right that time, didn't I? Iowa.
Ireton.
Okay, I'm going to give up. And we're just having a conversation here as the Labor Day weekend passes us by and kind of go over in some of the questions. All right, so next, are you ready?
You bet.
What temptation does the accuser most often whisper in Monica's ears? What temptation does the accuser most usually whisper in Monica's ears?
It's okay. No one will see that you've done that.
Ooh.
So that's usually the message. And I have to come back with something that God's put in my heart to combat that. Because God sees everything.
Right.
And knows everything. So
right.
You have to remember that even though in the world we may not think anybody sees, us get angry, that might be one for me. I get frustrated and angry. That's something I have to work on. I get frustrated. And I have to remember God knows what's going on in my heart. And he sees all that I do.
All right. That is excellent. Yeah. I don't know where I get a B on Judgment Day. I don't know if I'm sitting on the side of the Father, if I'm sitting on the mercy seat, or if I'm sitting in the peanut gallery. But I hope I am amazed at God's unending grace for some of the people like myself who were fortunate enough to be called by him to serve him on this earth, because I know we're going to be surprised. We're going to be surprised by who walks in with us. And many times it'll be someone who, nobody saw that. How did you know that? Nobody's ever seen that. That was a secret I kept.
Right.
All right. Reverend Monica Haynes is my guest today, and we are on the Big Question 7, for those of you keeping track. And we're keeping track today because if we have time at the end of the week and Monica wants to ask me any of these, she can do that. All right. Commandment, the one that says, keep the Sabbath holy. What does that mean to you?
That means that, one, God rested, and I think that, we need to acknowledge that a day where we're not doing just regular everyday business as though it's just another day. And one of the characteristics of the little community I live in is everything is shut down on Sunday. And to me, this is a very religious community, and I appreciate that old, because I haven't seen a lot of that in recent years, where a community decides that Sunday is a day of rest. You should be in worship, and you should be with your family if at all possible, and you should rest, and you should give that day, to God and in honor of Him. And I do think it's very important. And I think that is a manner of keeping it holy, that it's about Him. It's not about the everyday things that we, are concerned with as people. Running to Walmart, running, here and there, and doing banking and that sort of thing.
I go back to thinking about John 7, where the Pharisees were calling him a man of demons because he had, what had he done? He had done a circumcision or something, healed somebody on the Sabbath, and they were all upset with him for doing that.
That's correct. But he's doing God's work. And, we wouldn't want to ever not help someone. If you get an opportunity to help someone on the Sabbath, of course you should go ahead and do that because you're doing God's work. That's keeping things holy. It's about Him. Even though He rested, and you're doing something to lead someone, to bless them or to bring to God recognition of His will and mercy and grace. I think that's what He means. Is it's better for you to go ahead and help someone, heal someone on the Sabbath. That's a form of keeping it holy because it's about God and His work that He's done.
Reverend Monica Haynes is my guest today, and we are going through the pastor's questions, and we are now coming up on number 8, which is a great question. Are you ready?
You bet.
All right. How does Monica underestimate God? How does Monica underestimate God?
By praying. God says for us not to pray weak prayers, and I catch myself being not giving Him enough power. Meaning, it's something I've been working on lately. Is asking Him for big things, turning my life around, giving me guidance and ability to reach more people for Him, to change my personal circumstance around. Because He created the heavens and the earth, it's really easy for us to pray things like, thank you that you kept the utilities on. I thank you, that I woke up today. And not that there's anything wrong with those types of prayers, but we need to not only come with thankfulness, but we need to ask Him for big things because He's a big God. He created all of this and runs all of this that we have in our world. And I think that we underestimate Him. That when we have big problems, He's a big God, and we have to trust Him to turn situations around. And we need to pray those prayers, I believe, with confidence, so that He is able to show up and show out in our lives. And those are big testimonies that we would want, to be able to share with other people. But He loves us, and He wants us to come with big problems that would require basically a miracle to bring about a change in those circumstances. So I think something that I underestimate is sometimes I feel so humbled by Him. I don't want to bother Him with the big things. And we need to really understand He's a big God and He can handle big problems.
That's so funny because the next question has to do with just that. And the question is this. How do I say this? Are we here to defend the gospel or to share it? or to preach it?
I think all the above.
Okay.
All the above. It depends on the circumstance. So in other words, if there are times where people try to play devil's advocate, start saying, well, what about this or what about that? And they come at me in more of an attack mode than a listening mode. And so most people would say, well, you need to answer. I won't answer your questions because you're not coming at me with a heart that wants to hear. So in a way, I may feel more defensive of the gospel. But if that person comes at me with a heart, can you explain to me what that means to be saved? Then I'm sharing the gospel. So it just depends on the circumstance that you're in, whether you have to defend it. To me, that's all those things have to be encompassed as part of being a Christian. It just depends on the circumstance that you're in, the audience, and just being an example. People seeing how God moves in your life, and that goes back to the big prayer thing. I'm starting over, and I'm praying very big prayers, and God's answering those prayers in a mighty way, and I thank Him for that. And so that's going to be a testimony, and it gives me an opportunity to share with somebody, your circumstance may seem insurmountable, but let me share with you what His word says about those who love Him. And so I'm going to say that all three of those things, depending on the circumstance, the person, the audience, you may be called to do all three of those things as a Christian.
My special guest this week is Reverend Monica Haynes. We're just halfway through the pastor's questions. We'll be back tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat place, right here on your local radio station. And remember, if you come back tomorrow and can't find us, go look for Jesus. We'll be with Him.
Find Truth Christian Store, where you'll find more.